And the president saying that they had to fight hard to get COSATU's president Zingiswalose into the meeting. So doesn't that raise a red flag for you?
Well, I asked myself first, what was COSATU doing in that delegation? This is a government delegation. Okay, he asked for the golfers. Trump himself asked for the golfers and for Johan Rupert. So, yes, they were his guests in a way. But I don't understand what role did COSATU have. And then the president of COSATU says that we are violent people, we cut each other's throats up. What was that all about? It was a shocking performance by that group.
Did the agricultural minister do well or nothing at all in addressing the issue of land expropriation? Did he do justice to his portfolio?
No, because there are two issues that Trump has been harping on. The genocide against the Afrikaans population and the expropriation of their farms. It's got nothing to do with the composition of the government of national unity. But that's what happens when you don't prepare.
Should they have anticipated that? And how should they have handled it?
I was shocked. Our own presidential delegation is going to the largest economy in the world with the most visible president in the world. And they're telling the world we're a crime-ridden country. So what are they doing to the tourism for South Africa? What are they doing to the reputation of the country?
Yes, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time.
Evening, it's great to be here.
Praises on one side for Team South Africa. On the other side, they say the team started well, possibly, but fell short midway. Your take?
Yes, they started well, but Trump was ready with the big stick. He softened them up first and made them sit comfortably. In the meantime, he was sharpening his sword, and when he was ready, he pounced on them.
Should they have anticipated that? And how should they have handled it?
Well, they should have anticipated it, and they should have prepared very thoroughly as to who was going to answer those questions. They should never have allowed the team to come in. It should have been one person, either the president himself or one other person who he selected. And they should have prepared what answers to give to what questions. They never did that. They didn't prepare, and so Trump walked away with them.
So I suppose listening to what you're saying, then you do agree with those who are saying it was not coordinated, because when you listen to, for example, Zingiswalose's COSATU's president, she was quite clear actually on the issue of expropriation and quite clear on what needs to be done. And then you listen to Ernie Els, you listen to some of the delegation there. They talk about a South Africa that needs help. The ANC has been there for 35 years. Things simply aren't working, even referencing that Madiba got out of prison and he wasn't vengeful and all of that. So did they need to have a coordinated message?
Absolutely. It's because they didn't rehearse. They should have rehearsed for this question because they knew it was coming. Trump has been repeating this many times. So they knew the question was coming, and they should have had a rehearsal as to how it was going to be handled and who was going to handle the question and what were the issues that we're going to raise. At the end of the day, during that whole session, they ended up denouncing our own country. I mean, I was shocked. Our own presidential delegation is going to the largest economy in the world with the most visible president in the world, and they're telling the world we're a crime-ridden country. So what are they doing to the tourism for South Africa? What are they doing to the reputation of the country? if they're going to the White House to say we're a crime-ridden country. Anyway, Trump didn't ask them. He just said there's genocide against Afrikaans people or Afrikaans farmers. He didn't ask whether we have crime or we don't have crime, but they are the ones who are bad-mouthing the country. That's what happens if you don't prepare, if you don't plan. They should have planned for the question, and they should ask themselves first, the government of South Africa, why is Trump mobilizing a section of the South African population and encouraging it to go to the United States? Question number one. They should ask themselves that question. Secondly, what does he do? What is he going to do with those people when they get back, when they get to the United States? Those are the two primary questions they should have asked themselves. In my view, Trump is trying to build what is called a fifth column in South Africa. He's trying to build a group that is antagonistic, especially to the ANC, but answers to him. Because those people, they left the country with South African passports. We don't know what Trump is going to do with them. And then they're going to come back because they still have their passports. You can't exclude them from the country.
I suppose then it's also quite alarming that when you see the composition of the delegation and then later to hear that some couldn't make it into the room because the numbers were, also limited, and the president saying that they had to fight hard to get COSATU's president Zingiswalose into the meeting. So doesn't that raise a red flag for you?
Well, I asked myself first, what was COSATU doing in that delegation? This is a government delegation. Okay, he asked for the golfers. Trump himself asked for the golfers and for Johan Rupert. So, yes, they were his guests in a way. But I don't understand what role did COSATU have. And then the president of COSATU says that we are violent people, we cut each other's throats up. What was that all about? It was a shocking performance by that group.
Did the agricultural minister do well or nothing at all in addressing the issue of land expropriation? Because that was another moment where you listened to the U.S. president speak about the fact that, farms are being taken, speaking about the fact that property is being seized. But we didn't hear the minister speak about any of that at all. In fact, what the minister then says is that's John Steenhuisen, they got into the government of national unity to keep the EFF and the MK party out of government, referring to them as that lot. But did he do justice to his portfolio?
No, because there are two issues that Trump has been harping on. The genocide against the Afrikaans population and the expropriation of their farms. It's got nothing to do with the composition of the government of national unity. But that's what happens when you don't prepare, when you don't plan. Then you are all over the place and talking about unrelated issues. It's totally unrelated whether EFF and MK party are in the government of national unity or are not in the government. It's unrelated to the two issues of genocide against the Afrikaans population and of expropriation of their farms.
I'm going to get to just possibly behind closed doors in just a moment, but there's something that, especially when we started seeing the developments in the Oval Office started happening, we saw the international media taking a keen interest in what was happening. And the CNN Stephen Collinson writes, it's the new Hunger Games of world politics, the televised Oval Office takedown by President Donald Trump. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa was the latest leader to become an Make America Great Again prop Wednesday, as Trump lectured him on false claims that white South African farmers are the victims of genocide. Foreign leaders now enter the hallowed lair of the U.S. president, who runs press conferences like they are the WWE cage matches at their peril. Your take?
Well, you know, my company used to produce a program called Big Brother. It's called reality TV. That's what Trump does in the Oval Office with foreign heads of state. He sets the questions, he is the judge, he is the jury, and he decides how everything, and it creates a lot of drama, which is what we used to create when we produced Big Brother. It was never unrehearsed, by the way. There was a lot of planning, but that's what that Oval Office encounter is. It's a lot of drama where Trump comes out always as the winner. He's always the winner.
So how do you then, as a world leader, particularly President Cyril Ramaphosa, come into the Oval Office against this man who never wants to lose, seen as a bully by some, and still be able to set and assert yourself and set the agenda for your country, put your best foot forward without also antagonizing him?
Yes, but Trump also has a question to answer. Why is he building up a group? And it's a very well targeted group, by the way. He is targeting the blue-collar white workers in South Africa, who are predominantly Africans. He's targeting that group. He's targeting the lower middle class, Afrikaans-speaking white group. So it's a well-targeted group which he's taking to America. Now, why is he taking this group to America? Cyril should have asked him, why are you taking these people to America? What do you do with them? When they get to America, what do you train them to do?
Do you think that question didn't come up behind closed doors?
I don't know, but it didn't come out. It doesn't matter whether it came out or not behind closed. It matters what it tells the people of South Africa. We're having sections of our population being turned against the South African government by Donald Trump. What does he plan to do with these people? Is he planning to organize an insurrection against the South African government? Because he's running this narrative about this hugely victimized section, and a very clearly targeted section of our population. Is he going to use this population for an insurrection against the government of South? That he should have asked him. Our president should have asked him, is that what you're planning to do with these people? And then let's hear what Trump says.
Was that the moment for Team South Africa to pull out the stats and actually try and counter what is a narrative that we all know is false?
No, Trump is not interested in statistics. He's interested in effect. Statistics don't give effect. He wants drama. You can't create drama with statistics. You have to make a story. He gives a story. He doesn't give any statistics. He shows these crosses. You know, if you go to Arlington Cemetery in Virginia, you have crosses like that for the soldiers who have been killed in the many wars America is fighting. If you go to France, in the cemeteries from the First World War, the Second World War, you have crosses like that. The cemeteries of the Commonwealth, in Belgium, you have crosses. You could take a picture like that anyway.
So in light of what you just said, right, and looking at Team South Africa's performance in the Oval Office, that delegation, do you think, because you say they were ill-prepared, do you think behind closed doors they were possibly better prepared?
I doubt it. I doubt it. Because the question is, what does Trump want from South Africa? They should have asked him that question. He's preoccupying himself with the internal affairs of South Africa. What's he after? What does he want from us? Instead, they go there and ask him for help. They say, we're a crime-ridden society. We need help. We need drones. We need this, that, and that. South Africa makes drones. We don't need to go to the Americas to to be given drones. We make drones.
So when Johan Rupert speaks about Starlink, that it must be at every police station in the country, was that the ground being prepared for that?
I have no idea what that was all about. Why do we need Starlink? We have our own telecommunications systems in South Africa. We have huge cellular phone companies in South Africa. They can set up a telecommunication system for the police stations if they don't have one. But I'm sure our police stations have their telecommunication system. We don't need to go and ask the Americans for one.
It seems, though, especially when you look at the police's budget currently, there's a chunk of it, right, about 80% of it being spent on personnel, and then you're looking at another portion being spent on administration. One wonders, though, how much of that is available to spend towards crime-fighting efforts in the country. So maybe, if I'm listening to what you're saying, it's time to rethink priorities in that order and stop going outside of the country to try and get more money.
Well, exactly. You see, but this is to do with management of government departments of South Africa. It's got nothing to do with money, with technologies from Elon Musk. It's how to manage a department of the country, a crime-fighting department, which is the police.